friends. So I did a kind of a questionnaire thing for the last couple of weeks or so. I've been asking people, like if they had any questions for me and if they'd be interested in like a Q&A of sorts or a questionnaire. And a lot of people had some good questions that they threw out. So I'm going to read and answer them. Question number 1. How long does it take to do a body paint / makeup look? I think, honestly, it really depends on the look itself. Typically, a body paint would suggest a lot more like detail, a lot more of like my neck, maybe my arms being painted. So that can last between 3 to 5 hours, sometimes longer. It just really depends on how much detail you're going to put in. And as far as like my makeup look, I would say like a look like this maybe takes me 2 hours, and that depends on how like chatty I am, like if I'm streaming or not. If I'm on my own, I could probably get it done in like an hour. Question number 2, do tattoos need a special meaning? I don't personally think so. Most of my tattoos are just things that I like. I maybe have like 1 or 2 meaningful pieces, but the rest of them are just whatever felt great that day. I will say I'm the type of person who I really think about it for a while before I like jump into it. Sometimes I can be kind of impulsive, but not when it comes to tattoos, because like that's a lot of money I'm throwing out there. So I want to make sure like it's something I know I'm gonna really like for a long time and really enjoy. And for me personally, I don't do fandom tattoos anymore. I've gotten a few in the past and have not necessarily regretted, but like I just don't enjoy them or that fandom as much. So I've like, this is just a personal preference. I don't do fandom stuff anymore. I just do very abstract. I have like a vampire tattoo, but it's not related to any kind of movie or series or anything. It's just a vampire tattoo. I just started doing that because so many times I've seen like people get like their favorite fandom, like their anime or whatever, and then something happens and the creator ends up not being a great person or whatever. So I've just decided no more fandom tattoos for me. But if you got fandom tattoos, share them. I'd love to see them. Just because I don't get them doesn't mean I don't think they're cool as heck. Fave tattoo and most meaningful tattoo. So probably my favorite right now is my half sleeve, just because it's my newest one and I just love her so much. She's so beautiful. Look how beautiful she is. I do plan on getting a half sleeve over here. I do have a meaningful tattoo, which I'll show like a little bit of it. It's like an owl, but I'm not going to go too much in it just because it does have names on there that are a bit private. But yeah, I have a little owl tattoo. It's like a mama owl basically. So that's my more meaningful one. Probably the only really meaningful one that I have. I do plan on getting a couple of meaningful tattoos in the future in honor of my parents, but as of now I really only have the one meaningful one. The rest of them are just kind of like, well, I think it's cool and I want to put it on me. So this one is a very like philosophical one, I feel like. And I think I know who asked this question. 3 songs that represent my past, present, and future. Honestly, that's a tough one. I don't know if I can just pick like one song. So maybe genres. I'm gonna do genres. I hope that's okay. So I'm thinking like my past was very like poppy. I was very much into like NSYNC, but I also really liked Korn growing up and like 80s music. So I don't know, maybe like 80s and 90s was maybe my like, go-to like grunge / pop music. Don't ask me why. That's just where I was in that era. I would say my present like music genre would probably be spicy metal. Let's be real. Look at me. Come on. Spicy metal, Sleep Token, Bad Omens, Dayseeker. I'm obsessed. I love that stuff. But also, I've really gotten into K-pop again. I was really into it a few years ago, and then K-pop Demon Hunters came out and kind of ruined my life in the best way. So I'm getting back into my K-pop days. Like, I've been listening to Big Bang and SHINee and EXO, like all those bands and stuff again. So there's so many great ones. And yeah, I feel like that's where I am present-wise, at least. And then future song or future genre, I don't know. I really don't know where life's gonna take me. I feel like I'm still gonna be into a lot of the same things I'm already currently into. I think that's why that's a very difficult question to answer. I will think on it a bit more and maybe do even like a more in-depth answer later in the video. So we'll see. I might have to come back to that one. One outfit I could wear for the rest of time. I don't know if they mean cosplay or just like aesthetics. This. I love orange, I love red, and I love black. Specifically black. Black is my go-to color. I will wear it all day, every day, for the rest of my life. And then I just add little pops of color to go with it. Black is my main color, and then everything else is an accent color. Like, to be completely honest. This is definitely a look I would wear to the end of my days. As far as maybe like a cosplay, I don't know, my Christos one OC and maybe my Mothman, those two, I'm like, ooh, I just feel so good in those. But I don't know, like one outfit forever? I don't know, I feel like my mood is just all over the place. I don't even know what I'm gonna be tomorrow. This one says, when did I find out I loved cosplay? I'm gonna say birth. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I've been cosplaying my whole life, but no, I really have been cosplaying my whole life. I didn't know it was cosplay. It was just, I want to dress up like this character that I saw in a movie, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a cowboy today, and then the next day I'm Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then the next day, a lot of it was Disney. I'm like, the next day, or honestly, 5 minutes later, I'm Aladdin, and then 5 minutes after that, I'm a goblin or a sea witch, you know what I mean? Like, I just was kind of all over the place. And I mean, you can ask family and friends and stuff who've known me since childhood. Like, I've always been this way. Now, my style as far as every day has definitely changed. I didn't always dress like this, which is sad because I really wish I had. Regrets. I was a very shy, you know, timid child. I'm still pretty shy in my adulthood, but very much so in my childhood. And even though I love dressing up and I loved, you know, like acting and singing and all these things, I was way too timid to like try out for any of the school plays or anything like that. But I still love to dress up and I still love to pretend, but it was more so in the comfort of my own home, other than Halloween. Halloween was the one time I was like, I can be a freak and no one can be mad at me. And then, I don't know, I got older and I was just like, what am I, like, I don't know, cosplay. I think officially, like, when I learned the term cosplay, I think I was like between like 2013, 2015. And that's when I started like, oh, that's a thing? People do that? People go places and you can meet other people that do that? I want to do that. So then I full dose, just really just dived in. And then now I feel like I cosplay all the time now. Look at me. Ooh, my fave comfort meal. Honestly, anything pasta. I love me some pasta. I mean, I really like pizza and stuff too. That's another like I pretty much will never say no to pizza, but pasta, man. I just like spaghetti, baked ziti, just like, oh, pasta. Just lather it in Parmesan and stuff it in my face. I love that shit. But yeah, pasta and chocolate milkshakes. Ooh, this is a good one. A song that best hits my vocal range. I don't know if it's necessarily specific songs. I do a lot of like bluesy stuff from like the 80s. My vocal range is a little bit lower, so I'm more of an alto than a soprano. I can hit some soprano notes, but I can't go very high. I love like musicals and like classic jazzy bluesy type stuff. So I don't know if there's a specific song that really hits. One song I sing all the time that I feel like I get pretty well is Cinderella's So This Is Love. So this is love. So this is love. So this is what makes life divine. I'm all aglow, and now I know. But yeah, stuff like that. I like the blues. I wrote this kind of silly, but I think it means what song gives me chills. Oh, so many songs. So many songs out there that just, it's like visceral. One of my favorite ones that just pops in my head is a singer named Banks. I love her stuff. It's all caps, Banks. There's a song that she does. She did like a revamped version of Waiting Game. Highly recommend. Very good song. There's another one called Better. I don't know what it is. That song just does things to my soul. And I just, like, the way she sings is just very, it's very good. Also, like Melinda Doolittle, check her out. She's like a bluesy singer. Like, bruh. Good shit. This one is kind of a two-parter. It says, which OC is my favorite to wear, original character or original cosplay, and then which OC do I have the fave lore from? That one's tricky. So I would say my favorite OCs right now are probably my Christos character and Mothman, obviously. I feel like those are the two that I tend to like bring back and wear again. But as far as lore, one of my favorite was Astraeus. I didn't go very far into their characters. Same thing with Adrid, the boy king, and then Christos has a really cool kind of backstory. And then there's also Valarix. She's a cybernetic vampire character that I like created a few years ago that I'm kind of writing a comic. I don't know. I've sort of paused it, but I do have like pages kind of down. It's really difficult for me to like sit and just type things out, and I always have like a bajillion ideas running through my head. So like if I could ever afford a ghostwriter, I would definitely do that, because I'm just gonna throw things at you and then I want you to make it pretty. If you could make it cool and make it cohesive, that would be great. Because I have so many stories in my head, I just can't get them out. That's my issue. But yeah, I would say Christos is a big one for as far as like one I bring back a lot, and lore, like that's a good one. What is a makeup technique I'm most proud of, or like I feel like I've improved upon the most? I mean, I feel like my wing factor is pretty good, but also my brows. Look at these brows. But I think one of my favorites is maybe the lip look, actually. I just happened to do a look today that I kind of like done all my favorite things. But sometimes, you know, it's like the little stuff, like just doing little bats, or like how I contour now as opposed to how I used to contour. I used to not blend. Like a silly person. When I first started doing contour, I would just kind of do lines, and I was like, that looks good. And then I'd like go out and people would kind of look at me funny, but like, you know, I was learning. I'm self-taught. Nobody taught me these things. So I'm just, you know, I'm really wing-wonging it most of the time. But I feel like overall just playing around, and I like to do what I call like messy makeup, where I intentionally make it kind of messy, or like not super fine lines or anything like that, because it honestly helps with my anxiety and stress, because I feel like if everything has to be super perfect and symmetrical, then I can't function as a human being, and I stress over it, and I'm like, it's not perfect. But if I make it messy intentionally, then it's like, oh, that's just the look, and it look great. It's perfect. You can't mess it up. It's already messy. It's fine. Also, just wearing fangs. I just wear fangs all the time now. It's just kind of my thing. I feel like definitely like growth-wise, wings, brows, overall makeup in general, I feel like I've just really improved over the years. But that's just something you're gonna have to learn over time. It's not really anything one person can kind of teach you and then you're just like good right off the bat. You know, it's kind of something you grow as a person and as an artist. And my canvas just happens to be my face. So this one's a good one. It says, craft I loved to do as a kid and still do, or something similar that I still do now. I mean, other than cosplay, I've always kind of liked sewing. I've always kind of enjoyed like hand stitching and stuff. And now I've gotten really into like embroidering things. I don't do it as often just because it's a very tedious thing, and to be honest, I really just don't have a lot of time in my day-to-day. But you know, sometimes there's a project and I'm like, oh, I need, you know, I do this every time where like I come up with a cosplay or a craft or something, and I'm like, oh guys, I'm gonna go real simple with it, and then I am like, well, let's do a really big embroidery project to the back of it. And then it's like I end up tacking on like 5 more projects to this one project. Yeah, I would say like hand stitching. I really enjoy hand stitching. I did hand stitch recently. I sewed some bells to my maid costume. Not embroidery, but yeah, I like hand stitching. I find it oddly relaxing. I know some people find it very like stressful, but I find it relaxing. Like I'd like to get into like more needlework type stuff. I think that'd be fun, but you know, finding the time. How has cosplay / crafting impacted my life? I would say there are pros and cons to any, you know, hobby or art medium or whatever you do. Some of them can be kind of expensive. There's been times I've bought stuff and I didn't use it for a few years before I got to it. But I always get to it eventually. And there's been other times when like, you know, the negative aspect of like cosplay and crafting and stuff is just like, sometimes I really stress myself out. Like I give myself a deadline, and then sometimes that deadline stresses me out because I'm like not meeting the deadline, because life be crazy, and life be life, and life be doing what it wants to do, and it doesn't always involve you in its plans. But as far as cosplay and crafting in general, I feel like the positive aspects is it's really helped my confidence. Like over the years, cosplay in general, I used to kind of hide behind initially. Those first few years specifically, if you notice some of my first earlier works, I was a man with a beard. I was Gimli, or I was Dumbledore. I was always like a character with a big bushy beard so I could hide behind the cosplay. And now I'm like full front, I am the cosplay. That's why most of my cosplays these days are originals. And I'm just having fun, playing around. I feel like as far as how it's impacted my life, mostly positive. But there was a time in like my early Twitch days when I like really was stressing myself out and trying to like meet all these expectations that no one else put on me, mind you. I did that to myself. So I think kind of learning your limits is really important, giving yourself not only the permission, but like the time to rest. Like you got to give yourself rest days. That's so important. A lot of the time I don't really have a lot of time to craft it like as much as I'd like to. You know, I got to rest and then I go back to work, you know what I mean? So it's like, or I like rest a bit and then spend time with family. So I have a lot of other priorities that I can't always put my crafts and my artistry to the forefront, which I'd like to, but you know, it just is how it is right now. I'm hoping eventually I'll get to a point where I'll be able to add a little bit more artsy fartsy in my life, but as of now it's just kind of like, oh, when the mood strikes, then I'm doing things. And today they just happen to be one of those days. This one says, fave self-care, like what brings you joy? Well, I definitely need rest days. But I would say my favorite self-care is having like a hot cup of tea or like a hot cup of hot cocoa or something, and just like playing little mindless games or like watching a movie with my family or stuff like that. Just like kind of chilling, just relaxing with a fam, and sometimes just doom scrolling before bed. I don't know if that's really self-care, but honestly, I feel like it really relaxes me sometimes. Or just honestly, just watching like a good anime, just like just a good show or something. Those are like little one-off animes that aren't crazy long and like, you know, it has an ending. I really don't like watching stuff that hasn't been finished. So, because I'm the type of person, like, I need to barrel through. I'm going to just watch the whole thing in one go. Otherwise, I will never finish it. So, I like to do it that way. Just kind of, you know, being in some comfy clothes, having a hot cup of tea or something, and just hanging out. Just hanging out, being silly. Oh, this one's fun. It says, favorite Animal Crossing character. I'm assuming they mean maybe out of all the games. I have two. One of my faves is Kix. He's like a little dapper skunk. He came out, I think, in City Folk. I think that was the first time I ever saw Kix. They brought him back for New Horizons. And he's just so cute. I love him so much. I hope to cosplay him one day. He is kind of like on a bucket list. I don't know when I'll get to it, but that is a fun one. And then obviously Flick, because I've cosplayed Flick. And okay, first off, I love dinosaurs. And he's like a little punk dinosaur. He's a red chameleon. And I think he's a chameleon. He's a red lizard. I don't know. But he's very cool. And he's a little punk guy. And he's got a little punk vest. And he's got little punk bracelets. And I just love him so much. And I was like, I need to be him. So I cosplayed him a couple years ago. And he's just so fun. He's a cute little guy. He likes bugs. So this one I feel like I answered a little bit earlier, but it says, what got me into cosplay, how it started. Like I said, like ever since I was a child, like I've always loved dressing up. I think for me, maybe the reason I enjoy it so much is because it's kind of fun to pretend to be someone else for a little while. You know, it's like, it's like a form of therapy a little bit. You know, it takes me out of my stressful day to day, and I get to be somebody else for a little while. It's kind of fun, you know. Halloween just wasn't enough, you know. I needed more. I think a lot of us cosplayers are kind of the same way, where it's like, you know, I got to dress up a couple times here and there, but it just wasn't enough. I need to dress up more. And now I feel like a lot of us are kind of like, I'll dress up for a con, but I don't know if I'm gonna dress up in my everyday, because that's a lot of effort. But as far as like cosplay in general and like how it started or like what got me into it, I think it's just I don't know, it was just like a need, you know. I don't really know like when it started, but I was very young. And I just would dress up like characters. And I think maybe my earliest memory, I remember being like 6 or 7, running around in like a little purple vest, pretending I was Aladdin from the Disney movie Aladdin, you know, and like having adventures with the genie and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's just, I don't know, little things like that. I've just been a weirdo my whole life. I don't know how else to explain it. Okay, so I circled back to 3 songs that represent my past, present, or future. And initially I was thinking genres because I hadn't really like sat down and thought about it. And I feel like my past was probably Crawling by Linkin Park, because that song was so visceral to me when I first heard it. I don't even remember how old I was. I think I was still in middle school, but I was just like, it really just like hit me in my chest. I felt it so intensely, and I was like, this is, and like, you know, I had a lot of struggles growing up. I had, you know, depression and like an ED and all this kind of stuff, and you know, my self-esteem was through the floor, like it was bad. So I feel like, I don't know, that one really spoke to me. So I feel like that song really would represent my past, because it took me a long time to get to a point of like self-love where I am now. I think my present song might be Sleep Token Provider, and that's a very spicy song, and it, you know, puts you in a good mood. And then I think my future, so K-pop Demon Hunters, the band, or the K-pop band Huntrix, has a song, This Is What It Sounds Like, and I feel like that's very hopeful. It's like taking your broken pieces of your past, and instead of hiding it, you know, using that to fuel you forward. And I feel like that's how I would like my future to be, or like that's the direction I'm going. So I try not to dwell on past things, past mistakes, past embarrassments. I don't know, sometimes I look back now and I look at things a little bit more fondly. I'm a little bit more kinder to myself. I used to be very self-loathing and self-deprecating. Deprecating? Now I look back and I'm just like, aw, poor Bebop. You know, they were trying real hard and they were struggling. And so now I try to be the adult that I feel like I maybe needed as a kid. And I think a lot of us millennials are trying to heal ourselves while we, you know, raise ourselves. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I feel like I'm more myself now than I have in my whole life, you know, like these past few years. 2020 also, like I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but I feel like I was kind of already in the trajectory of improving my self-esteem, and then 2020 hit and it was just kind of like, well, you know, we could all perish tomorrow, so why not live it up today? So that's kind of where I'm at now. I hope this questionnaire was fun for everybody. I had fun doing it. I'd love to do another one, so if y'all have any other questions you'd like to have me answer, I'll write them down and I'll save them for a future video or something like that. This was fun. Thank you all for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Bye.